I'm going to give you just a quick set of kind of principles, like a starting point, some things to think about as you start to actually dive into the content, so that hopefully this will help you maximize your time or optimize your time in the program. And then I'm going to share a link for you to log into the product to make sure that everybody that's here is able to get in. And then I'm going to take you on a quick tour of what the full product looks like. I want to remind you about this idea of keeping open loops. So human beings are programmed by biology and evolution for certainty. We seek certainty. The unfortunate thing is we live in a world where there is only one certainty, and that is life will end. So in our effort to create certainty where there is no certainty, we often fall prey to what some people call the narrative fallacy. We are also sense-making, meaning-making creatures, and we make sense of ourselves and sense of our situation and sense of each other through the stories we tell ourselves. And in our effort to also to achieve this certainty that we seek, we will tell ourselves stories that may or may not be true, that may or may not be logical, that may or may not be, they're more often rationalized accounts rather than rational explanations. Sometimes, so this idea, and because of this, storytellers, people that write television shows and things like that, and in the old days of the serialized movies, they would have these things called cliffhangers, and they would call these things open loops. They would never conclude the entire story. They left the loop open as a forcing function to make you come back the next week and they would close a loop and then they would open the loop. So during our time together, hopefully you will find some new ways of making the difference that you make. Hopefully that will be, if all goes according to plan, you'll be doing fewer things, but the essential things, and you'll be doing them with more effortlessness, and also hopefully doing the right things at the right time in the right order. And that will be paying you a greater return on investment in terms of saved time, saved attention, less anxiety and worry, and the goal is ultimately more revenue. So my first ask is hold, to use Angie's word, hold the tension. The tension is trying to get you to close the loop. Try to hold the loop open. Try to be open to the new ideas. If you had everything already figured out, you would not have been in conversation with me on social media or on the email list, and you would not have trusted me enough to trust yourself to invest in yourself and come into this program. And so the longer you can keep these loops open, the more possibility you're going to see, and the more focused you'll be on doing the essential things more effortlessly and experiencing not only greater, making a better living, but also doing that in a way that allows you to make a bigger difference, because you're going to be doing the right things with the right people at the right time and so forth. So one of the things that I've noticed so this was a rare week in that I met with all 10 of my one-on-one clients this week. And one theme that came up in those conversations, because many of them are new to me clients, is that ties into this quest for certainty, is our predilection for dogmatism. And what I mean by that is, because there are actually no roadmaps that deliver guaranteed results, because there's no checklist that can be provided that gets you from where you are to where you want to be. And this is good news, because often where we want to be is not actually where we need to or should end up. We're not providing a roadmap. We're providing a compass that will help you get where you're actually meant to be in this program. But we fall prey to dogmatic thinking. And I'll just give you an example. Clients come to me and say, okay, well, if it's all right with you, Nadine, I'll pick on Nadine. Nadine came to me with literally a laundry list. Here's what I need to do to grow my business. I don't remember. You said that it had 5 or 6 things, I think, the other day. Nadine, your list had like 12 or 15 things, and that they were not little things. It was like the equivalent of build a ship and sail it across the sea to where I want to be. And so, but that's the way we think. Like, this is how it's done. And it's not your fault. This is, again, human default programming. And for us in this room as independent coaches, we see the gurus, the influencers, and the experts telling us this works. Instagram is the way to go. TikTok is the way to go. YouTube channel is the way to go. Podcasting is the way to go. Book writing is the way to go. Mini workshops, webinars, on and on and on and on. And so we just keep adding these things to our to-do list. We fall into a productivity cycle. And it turns out that most of us are really good at being productive. We can do a lot and do a lot of things, but productivity doesn't equal progress. More doesn't get us closer, but our dogmatic thinking gives us this fixed mindset where we're just grinding it out, doing these things that we've convinced ourselves we have to do. What we're going to advocate in this program is a more scientific approach built on foundational principles, reasoning from first principles, first principle thinking. We're going to determine what's necessary, and we're going to get that right, we're going to get that right enough to take the next step, because there is no perfect, there is no absolute right. There is good enough for right now. And if it's good enough for right now, we can validate an offer, we can validate an audience, we can validate our strategy, and we can learn and collect the data that helps us take the next smallest viable step into the possibility that we imagine for ourselves. So open loops, avoid the default dogmatic thinking that we all fall prey to, keep the loops open, and think a little bit more scientifically. I was actually just watching some videos by Nick Peterson on this idea of function over form, and I want to share this real quick because I think it will really help. And it's something that Penny and others that have been with me for a while have heard me speak to before. You know, this idea of we hear this phrase form over function, and it's actually kind of a bastardized twisting of a saying. I can't remember the architect's name. I think it was like in the early 1900s. It might have been the 1800s. But what he said was form ever follows function. And he was actually stealing that from an ancient Roman architect from the Roman Empire. And what they are speaking to is function is what you want, the desired outcome. Form is how you get there. And I want you to think about what you really want. What's the outcome that you desire? And what we want to do is focus on the function, the outcome, the result, the what's it for, so that we only pay attention to the forms that are necessary for us to close the gap, to bridge the gap, to close the gap and then bridge the gap. That's one of the first lessons in the preliminary lessons. What we have all done, and some of you saw it in the videos that I shared with you before we got started that are now inside the program, we have paid attention to the form. We have created a logo, built a website, built an email list with a lead magnet. We have created a YouTube channel and social media outposts. We have created mini workshops that are free or low paid. We have created webinars. We have created all these things, all form, all tactical things. And all we've done is created a full-time job over just managing all these things that are not actually getting us to the outcome that we want. If those things worked, you would already be where you want to be in terms of monthly revenue, in terms of impact. So, the thing that the gurus are not telling you is that Well, I don't think it's necessarily manipulative or insidious or conspiracy. I think they're sharing with you things that worked for them and they worked in the past, and it's what they know, and they're teaching you what they know, but it's not what's working most of the time now, because the technology is, you know how fast things are moving. What you're learning in this program are foundational fundamental principles that will work for any business and have worked for every business throughout the history of there being businesses in the world. Foundational principles. What do you need to make change happen through a product or service? You need an offer that's irresistible enough, an audience that is eager enough, and you need a sales strategy that is effective and efficient enough to put your irresistible enough offer in front of an eager enough audience. You need those three things. And people were able to do that without funnels, without webinars, and all the other things. And so can you. The things that you'll learn here will work after YouTube goes down and podcasting goes down and all the other things go down, because they will go down eventually. Tied to this idea is this idea that I shared a minute ago about productivity is not the same thing as progress. We're here to make progress. And toward that end, I designed this accelerator so that you can spend as little as a half hour on each of the core lessons, probably more like 45 minutes, but you can spend as little as that and experience a profound shift in the way you think about your offer, audience, and sales strategy. Obviously, the more time for up to a point, the more time you invest in those things, the greater the gain. But there is a point at which you will, and you'll learn this in the systems reliability section, there is a point at which the diminishing returns on your effort, attention, and financial resources, the return on investment is diminished. So, one of the things that I encourage you to do is put together your offer, make it feel like it's good enough, share it on a group coaching call, get some insight and reflection, then go back and tweak the offer. Don't try to get it perfect the first time. There's no such thing as perfect. Perfection is a process, and it's a destination you'll never reach, but it's a process that you can iterate and get better at. All right. I think that's enough of so I apologize. I call these things riff rants. I get on this thing and I start riffing, and then suddenly I find myself ranting, and I apologize. It's just, I feel really strongly about this stuff because I know if you're anything like me, I struggled in building my business, and Penny's been around almost since the beginning. It took me.
I'm a slow learner.
No. Well, I'm the slow learner. It took me 6 years to get to the point where I was making my goal, just to be clear about that, to be transparent and share in the way that I asked you to share. I've told this story before. When my kids, my son and daughter-in-law announced that they were pregnant last August, my wife and I raised our hand to become full-time grandparents. Jasper's in the other room with grandma right now. We care for him about 9 hours a day, 5 days a week. We just did it. Didn't even think about it. But then after we did it, I was like, holy crap, I work 10 hours a day, 6 or 7 days a week. How am I possibly going to spend 9 hours a day with my grandson? And so I put myself in a forcing function where I had to figure out, how can I work with 10 clients a month, 10 hours a week, and make $10,000 a month? That was my goal. And again, in full transparency, this is the first month that I've actually done that. But between August of 2021 and, because we're in 2022 still, right? Okay, just checking. There's been this momentum going where I've, for the last 6 months, I've been bumping against that ceiling and just feeling like, oh, this is one of those things I'm never going to break through. It happens, but you have to define what success looks like for you, and you have to be willing to pursue it, to commit and persist with discipline, and most important, with intention and integrity. You can't win a race that you don't want to be in. If you are just chasing the money for the money's sake, you will not end up happy when you reach that money goal. I strongly encourage you to also do a little thinking about what are the values upon which I will not equivocate. Who do I do this work with and for? Who do I not do it with and for? What kind of things do I do? What kind of things don't I do? Everything in this program is about doing what you do in terms of selling your offer with intention and integrity. If you do what you do with people who share your values and need your talents to enhance their lives, you will always make a living. And the money and the passion and the purpose and the prestige and all the other things that we are normally chasing will just be naturally occurring side effects. They don't have to be the point. The point is to make change happen, to be a force for good in the world, to make an impact. Everything else is a side effect. And those things then become renewable resources. You can reinvest. You can reinvest them in your business. You can reinvest them in your family. You can reinvest them in yourself. So give some thought to that. Okay, now I'm actually really going to cut myself off on the riff rant. Let's take a look inside the program. Share screen. Oh, first, okay, yeah, let's do it this way. I'm going to show you the program, then I'm going to share the login URL and make sure that each of you is able to get in. So when you log in, what I've done is I've set it up so that each day's lessons begin at 3 a.m. They drip out at 3 a.m. Pacific time, so that even the people on the West Coast, can get if you're an early riser like me, you can get an early start. So when you log in and click on the coaching business prescription product, it will look like this. And if you need to get in touch with me, you can click here to send me an email. If you have a question about the product, and specifically, if you have a question about your offer, about the work that you're doing in the prescription accelerator, bring it to a community call, and you can click here to get the schedule of community calls. Every community call happens in the same Zoom room. It's the Zoom room that you're in right now. So you can add the schedule of calls if you click on this box. So these are always here for your convenience. The accelerator is broken up into some kind of fundamental principles and practice lessons. The 3 core lessons: creating a irresistible offer, an engaged, eager audience, and an efficient and effective sales strategy. Then we're going to look at how you, after you've got your core offer, audience, and sales strategy established, how you can take those principles that you learned in this week and you iterate and improve your offer, audience, and sales strategy, so you can continue to make progress beyond the accelerator. There's just some conclusions. All the call replays are available right now. This replay will be here with the rest. There's the bonus content, which the advertised bonus content was the 30-minute a day social media strategy. And there's going to be a few more things in there that will drip out after the onward, the conclusion happens. And then after everything is opened up here, you're going to get a copy of the entire curriculum, which is going to end up sooner or later in a book. So just to give you a sense of what you will see today. So this is the way that the lessons are laid out. You can click on the welcome lesson. And this one does not have a video. It's just giving you some of the things that you should take care of before we get started. And then you'll have a menu over here. So all the lessons after this have a video. If you would like to download the audio for your continued access after the product closes in 30 days. You can download it here. And let me just quickly show you. Yeah, so I'm sorry, you can listen to it here and download it here. When you get to the core lessons on offer, audience, and sales strategy, there's worksheets also in the download. So you'll want to pay attention to that. And that is really all there is to the product. All I can tell you is that I am super excited. The first cohort that went through this was really, really great. And I have been pretty unabashed about saying that I love the people that have signed up for this group. And we have a couple people, premium clients that are going to be coming in and out that are also absolute rock stars. So, the value of the return on investment of any investment is almost entirely up to the way that you show up and the way that you lean in and the way that you do the work. And the dynamic that I most frequently find is when people join something like this, they've decided that they trust the person enough to give over whatever amount of money it is. And this thing about buyer's remorse feels like maybe I shouldn't trust this person. In my experience, it actually is most often, and we spoke to this on yesterday's call with Gami. What is actually happening is now that you put yourself on the hook, you're starting to have questions about whether you trust yourself, or am ready to invest fully yourself in the thing that you just signed up to do. So, yes, you made the right decision. All you have to do is show up the way you show up everywhere else in your life, and lean in the way you lean into every other thing that you do in your life. And you are going to experience a dramatic change over the course of just the weekend material. But then I think over the course of the 30 days, I think you will see noticeable, measurable differences in the quality of your offer, the people that you're speaking to, the amount of time and attention you're spending on your sales. And my hope is also in your monthly revenue, in which case this whole thing will be a complete bargain, because it will have paid for itself and more. That is my wish for you. Thank you very, very much. Have a fantastic weekend.